Management Skills for Success, the Hudson Valley Chapter's May meeting. Housekeeping. Please use the chat for questions, comments, and to participate in activities. This meeting is being recorded. The recording will be posted on the PMI HPC's YouTube channel, and please ensure that you're on mute. Greetings. My name is Jasmine T. Clark. I am the VP of Professional Development. I'll just briefly go through the agenda. We'll have announcements, a check-in, breakout session, and our guest speaker and Q&A. Well, our guest speaker, Jeremy Hammon, PMP. For our announcements, our Spring Professional Development Day with Ruth Pierce. It's Friday, May 31st from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. It's an interactive virtual workshop where you earn 4 PDUs. Transformation often feels thrusted upon us. We react to internal pressures, and for some of us, we collapse under the stress. But what if transformation was intentional? That instead of feeling fear, we look for it, that we embrace a mindset of evolution built on a foundation of curiosity and courage. Join us for this workshop session where you will find out more about how you tolerate and don't tolerate transformation. Discover what makes you strong in the face of change and what makes you uncomfortable. Then channel courage and curiosity and use the discomfort to become more than you were before. Using case studies, breakout coaching sessions, and a choice of 2 assessments, you will walk away with a plan to change with change and to experience continuous transformation. This is an interactive session. At the time, we do cater for different learning styles, and all exercises will be offered in 3 formats: self-reflection, discussion in pairs, small groups, and facilitator-led sessions for those who prefer. Register today. Early bird pricing ends soon. May is Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month, National Asparagus Month, and National Water Safety Month. I would like to send a welcome to new members. We have Thomas, who recently joined PMI HBC. Thanks for joining us, Thomas. We also have new certifications. Nicole just received her PMP. Again, congratulations, Nicole. And congratulations on 5 year of membership to Hammon. Thank you for being a valued member of the Hudson Valley chapter. It's check-in time. And please just put in the chat, which Michael Scott are you today? Are you 1? Are you 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10? 11 is a little there. It's a little lost, but it's there. And 12. I myself am a mix between 8 and 5. And you guys don't have to put it in the chat if you want. You can come off mute and just give us your numbers.
I'm 12. See it? See what
I hear that. You're pumped and ready to go. I hear that.
Ready to go. Let's go.
I'm 2. I'm very looking forward to this presentation. I can listen.
I love it. I love it. Okay. So unfortunately, we will skip story time with the Hudson Valley Chapter Way, but I will explain what it was. So it was a small group activity. And basically, the small group activity was 5 random words based on AAPI, asparagus, and water safety. Each group would have had 10 minutes to develop their story, and they must use all the words in the correct context. And then after 10 minutes, we would rejoin the group, and everyone would get to share their story. So these were the random words. And as you see for group 1, they had Dwayne Johnson, first aid, roasted asparagus wrapped in bacon, floaties, garlic butter drizzle. So basically that whole story had to incorporate those 5 words. Group
That
2.
story made me hungry.
They're all gonna make you hungry. Group 2, roasted asparagus with hollandaise and curry, lifeguards, treading water, Parmesan crusted drizzle. Group 3 would have had Tuscan style roasted asparagus, life preservers, M. Night Shyamalan, asparagus casserole, and CPR. Group 4 would have had life jackets, asparagus with lemon butter, swimming lessons, cheesy garlic roasted asparagus, and Connie Chung. So again, that would have been the small group activity. But next up, Yes, she's actually, so if you notice all the names, they are famous Asian American Pacific Islander people
That
of
is
that
fun.
heritage, I would say.
This is super fun.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we definitely have to invite you back so you can play with us.
Yes. I'm all, you can tell them like, I'm 12.
Next up, we have Jeremiah. Jeremiah R. Hammon, PMP, is the founder of Project Revolution and author of the Project Management Pathway, a transformative guide forged from 15 years of navigating the complex industries of aerospace, nuclear energy, and civil engineering. Recognizing a critical void in project management, he focuses on crucial yet often overlooked productivity and leadership skills. His training and book go beyond standard methodologies with real life leadership, emotional social intelligence, organizational awareness, agility, and resilience. Jeremiah is on a mission to ignite a wildfire within visionary businesses, empowering them to lead the charge in changing our world, and will stop at nothing to ensure their success. His vision is to create high voltage cultures of top talent rock stars who love what they do, know what they do it for, and how they do it, and why they do it, to unlock the greatest asset of every business, their people, propelling teams towards purpose, high performance, and unparalleled achievement. I am pleased to announce Jeremiah, and I'll stop sharing my screen.
That was awesome. Thank you so much for having me. Hudson Valley, how are we doing today? It would be tonight for y'all, right?
Yes, it's tonight. We're doing
It is.
good.
Night is the night. So give me 1 second. I'm going to share my screen. Can you all see my screen? Awesome. Well, hey, thanks for having me. And Jasmine, I'm really excited to be here with you all tonight. And this is what we're going to cover. We're going to cover the skill sets of the future, right? And it's really goes back to the, the what we're going to do, why we're going to do it, how we're going to do it, and then now. So by the time that we're done with this, everybody who participates, there's going to be actions that you're going to take, because every project manager, we know we can't leave the side of a decision without taking an action, right? So every time that we get together, we make a decision, we have to take actions towards that decision, right, to create momentum. So as I start going through this presentation, there's going to be some spots where we're going to stop and do some work. Now, I know that this is being recorded and you're going to go back to it. So I'm going to hope everybody out there, you got to get your pen and paper ready, because you're not going to escape. You're not going to escape the homework that we have to do here. And we're going to do it in real time. So without further ado, I'm Jeremiah Hammon. I am with the Project Revolution. Jasmine, thank you so much for that introduction. It was really awesome. And I don't think I need to go into it anymore because you did it right. So I appreciate that. So we're going to talk about the skill set of the future, your unique genius. This is your star power. This is the things that make you great, incredible. Then we're going to talk about stakeholder synergy, how you can leverage your top five to get you where you want to go. And all of this using hybrid project management. I'm a huge fan of hybrid project management. Now, how many of you here love hybrid project management or project management? Obviously, project management, everybody does. But what about hybrid project management? Are we agile? We got predictive, or do we have people that love the hybrid? We got the hybrid. All right. So one of the things in my career that I've realized is that when you really start getting out into a projectized environment, whether we're agile, whether we're predictive, at the end of the day, it goes back to like the PMBOK. We really want to focus on tailoring specific to our needs. And why would we want to limit any of our tools? Why would we want to limit any of our tools? And so one of the things that I've spent a lot of time, and I even wrote the project management pathway about this, was how to leverage hybrid project management no matter what environment you're in. And the really cool thing is you can leverage it in your personal life to transcend your careers, to move through the careers. And one of the things, the main topic of this is I'm going to walk through, and a lot of people are trying to get their PMP, which is what the project management pathway helps people actually go out and get their PMP and then create the pathway to do that. But it's really that self journey. Did you say see that light kick on? Wow. I need 1 second here. Sorry, everybody. We had a little malfunction. 1 second. All right, I'm back. Yeah, I had a light just kick on. Sorry about that. It just like turned on really bright in here and I couldn't see anything. So anyway, but hybrid project management, that's where I was at, is a really crucial skill that you can utilize in anything in your career. And so what I'm going to walk through is how we can start leveraging the best parts of ourselves to do that. Now, this is what a lot of people think projects look like, right? So we think about project management, you have to be resilient. We hear about wrangling tornadoes, wrangling fires, and all this stuff. Now, a lot of the reasons why projects end up, or even situations in our life end up like this, is a couple different reasons. One, we didn't use the right development approach to get what we wanted to do, or two, we just didn't plan well enough. And so, we only realize, that certain things are going to happen when they happen. So we have to, in order for us to really, you know, minimize these distractions and the tornadoes and all the chaos that comes with it with project management, we have to be able to plan effectively. So I like to put this here as if you think about it, here's your business, here's your project manager, here's your teams. And as everybody's cruising down the roller coaster, we're actually being a lot more reactive in our environments. And we really need to be proactive in a reactive environment. So everything I'm going to show you here in these top 3 skills I'm going to show you is going to teach you how to be proactive in a reactive environment. So things are going to be reactive and you're going to be ahead of it. You're going to be able 5 steps ahead of everything that you do. But before we really go into that, I'm going to show you why I said, number 1, the skill of the future. So right now in project management, there's this we're in a project revolution. You hear people talk about the project economy. And as people are starting to really adopt the profession, a lot of people are coming into the profession new. And so we have to bridge this talent gap, because as project management, as more projects, more businesses are adopting project management, people are wanting to step into the industry because of the impact that they can make, right? And so you have 90 million project managers work in the industries around the world. There's 90 million. Now, here's an interesting fact. Here's a fun fact. 25 million new project managers are needed to fill the roles by 2030, right? So we've got 90 million now, 25, and they also say that there's 88 million project support teams to support them. So we got 25 million project managers and 88 million people that have to come in to support this booming business, this booming profession. Now, 13 million people are predicted to retire for the profession over the next 8 years. Now, that's a lot. So 13 million are dropping off. These are a lot of the more experienced PMs and technical PMs and stuff, the boomers and all the other people out there. And that really means that we have 2.3 million people will need to enter the profession each year trained to be able to backfill that and then meet the need. So we got to bring on 2.3 million people. We got to get them trained and to meet the need that's going to be needed and to backfill the experience that's leaving. Right. And so here's an interesting thing. So all this is happening, and LinkedIn decided they were going to go out and they took everybody out there and they went and looked at everybody who was who was taking their courses on LinkedIn Learning. And they went and they developed, there's 10 areas that needed to be that people were looking at for jobs and really researching. And they wanted to find what are the most in-demand skills. And so I only put 5 on here, but there's 10. There was 10 total. And the number 4 was project management. And when you really start looking at their list, when you look at what's going on, when you look back here at the communication, customer service, leadership, project management, it goes on to agility, adaptability, resilience. These are the skills that are needed. And when you really look over here, analytics, teamwork, sales, problem solving, research. Now, everybody knows in the project management industry, when you look at this, look at everything that project management, just right now, PMI's definition of project managers, these are the things, the traits, the characteristics that we need to know in these 3 power areas that we have to know on the triangle in order to be a project manager of excellence, right? So when you go back to this list and you look at the most in-demand skills, and project management being number 4, anybody who leads projects, 9 out of 10 of those skills listed are key attributes of great project managers. Because project management, it does require that depth and breadth of knowledge in those 3 areas. And we have our triangle, we have our business acumen, our ways of working, and our power skills. So what I want to do here is everybody take a look right here at this list. And Jasmine, I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit. Out of this list, what area in the triangle would you say that you needed to work on the most? Or do you feel like you're pretty balanced?
I would probably say because of the industry I'm in, I need to brush up on business acumen because we don't really do that in my line of work. Someone does it for us. So I can always practice that.
So you would say that you've got the power skills. You're really focused on more of the leadership, getting the team together, and then the executing part of it.
Yes, yes.
Absolutely, right. That's right. Um, Jennifer, what about you?
I would have said the ways of working.
Okay,
So,
that's
because some
awesome.
of that I do a lot of, and then some of them, because we have different organizations, they handle other things.
That's awesome. So you're more in the business acumen, power leadership, strategy and leadership.
Yes.
Awesome. Awesome. And is that Revnit? Ravneet?
Yes.
What would you
Yeah.
think?
Um, I'd say, as Jennifer was saying, I'm pretty balanced at this point, honestly, because I'm also in a chief of staff function. So I have some strategic stuff going on. I have, projects that I'm leading. So I guess I've got a pretty good balance out there.
Okay, that's good. And is that Mirka? Mirka?
Yes, sorry, then since I'm driving, that's why I have you in mute. Well, I will say that I'm balanced, but no unbalanced, then I feel like I'm good in all. I feel like I need to work, I need to improve in each of those. I have some elements like from the way of working and some element for the other one. But no everything then is needed to say then I feel comfortable. I mean, then I'm still, I would say, learning and growing.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, and that's what's really powerful. What I love about having the triangle and understanding the definitions behind this is because we can look at it and we can find out where we're not balanced, and then we can set plans to improve those skills. And since project management is, I'm going back to, is really this one of the, it's in the top 4, right? It's in the top 5 required skills of the future. In my opinion, it's really going to be number 1. And I get to that a little bit more. I really think that project management is the advantage that all companies need, and they need to put more focus into it. A lot of people, this is what they think that the role of the project manager is. They think that it's planning the project, creating schedules, executing, managing, pushing paperwork. I hear that a lot. You'd be surprised at people that are just like, oh, project managers just push paperwork. I'm like, do we even do that anymore? Is that even a thing? Stakeholder management and risk management. That's what people think. And honestly, that's only 20% of the job. When we get into it, it's really leadership. And it's emotional and social intelligence. I mean, that's what it boils down to. And when you look at Daniel Goleman, and if everybody out there, write this down and research it if you haven't already. Daniel Goleman has done a lot of great work with emotional intelligence back in the 90s. And then he stepped it up with Richard Boyatis and Annie McKay, and he added social intelligence to it because it was really powerful. And it has 4 components, right? It has your self-awareness, self-regulation, social awareness, and regulations, if you think of it from a 4 square. And then what he did was he took and he said, for each area, he broke out 12 competencies, 12 competencies that you need to have in order to be emotionally and social aware. At one point, he had 18, and he removed that and boiled it down. So if you start looking into this and you see there's 18, honestly, there's still good characteristics to look into and traits that you can develop. But he really decided that the best bang for the buck you're going to get are these 12. And it's really powerful because a lot of us, they say leadership is innate. And I'll challenge anybody. It's learned. We have frameworks, just like project management. We have processes and frameworks that we can utilize and learn so that we're able to implement it at any time, anywhere, right? But it always starts with self. Everything we do starts with self, because if you don't have it, if you don't possess it, you can't get it, right? If you're not on fire, you can't light the fires, right? If you're not inspired, you can't inspire other people. All those things are very true. It always starts with self. So when you dive into the 4 quadrants, it's like, okay, I need to work on self. If I really want to be this effective leader and I want to be able to do the 80% that's going to get me 20% of the results, right? When we talk about Pareto, you dive right into, Daniel Goleman's, his core competencies, and there's your map right there that you can start in. And I'll tell you a story. When I was working I was working on a secret mission for the government, a project that I was working on. And, it was really, everything about that project was, we had to get in there and we had to be, it was like, and I'm sure this is a story that we all feel, contract was awarded. There's no room. We got to get going and start as fast as we can. Everybody's got to get really busy and get on there, build the team as fast as you can, and execute and deliver, sooner than expected, because it took longer to sign the contract. Right. And so here is this government project, and they brought me in because I'm really good at executing and achieving, getting the goal, getting the team rally, getting everybody together to move efficiently and quickly. And so I'm in here, and they bring me into this job, and I start standing up this whole division to do this. And I mean, we're doing all the tools and tactics, all the process. Here's your processes. Our value management system had to be stood up. All of these things had to be stood up. And the interesting thing, I kept going, we weren't hitting our mark. We're not hitting the mark. We're not hitting the mark. People were getting burned out. People weren't really, people were having a hard time really staying motivated. And I started realizing, I was like, wait a second. We're missing the human part of this, right? The human decency. People were working 16-hour days, and it was just every time the officials come in, it was just grind, 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 grind. And I was like, what are we doing for our team? What are we doing for our people? What are we doing to inspire and influence the people? What are we doing to create them being masters of their own self? What are we doing to grow them, right? How are we giving them conflict resolution skills? And are we actually coaching and mentoring them so that they know there's more after this? And then what kind of teamwork are we actually deploying? And how does that work? What are our team norms? Why do we exist? Who do we exist for, and how we do it? And so as I started thinking through this, and it's not revolutionary, but it's a journey that we all have to go on. Remember self, back here at self, that's the journey we all have to go. And that's where it really clicked to me that, like, the evolution from achievement, it really goes to leadership. That's your next level, because achiever, doer, leadership. How do I actually do this more efficiently? How do I actually inspire other people to take the appropriate action? How do I inspire them, not direct, not command, we have to do this, or lead a pace that everybody burns out on? How do you inspire and then keep them inspired? It's like building relationships. How do I build relationships and maintain those relationships? That's the power of project management. And so I realized that, and I've been on a mission ever since to really empower people to lean heavily into the art of leadership, lean heavily into what that means. And this Daniel Goleman's emotional intelligence was really easy for us to grab it, have a framework that we can leverage, just like the PMBOK, just like those processes that we all love. And we get in and we go, I love the PMBOK and all the little tools and the process and the EDOs and the ADOs, all the things, right? And we get them, and we can now have a way, somewhere we can point our ship. We can develop our frameworks. We can detail plan it, and we can grow ourselves to be the best that we need to be. And so that's right there is where I go into, for me, the clear choices of project management is the ultimate advantage, because I believe leadership is the ultimate advantage. And that's how you empower and motivate your teams. And everybody has to lead, they have to manage, and they have to follow at any given time. And so no matter whether you're the CEO, there's a time for you to lead your team. There's a time for you to manage. We have to manage the expectations. These are the core norms, the team norms that we need to have. And there's a time to sit back and listen carefully to the people around you. And not only listen to the people around you, listen to yourself. What kind of voices and chatter do you have going on in your head? What are the things that are stopping you from stepping up and being the best that you can be when you need to be it? And so I went back to, like, project management is the ultimate advantage. And when you really look at the statistics here, it's interesting, because if PM is made a priority, right? And like I said, it's the 20% that you do that's going to get you 80% of the results. Here are the 20% of the things I'm going to do now that's going to get me the 80% of the results. Now I flipped it, right? And it's 83% of high performing organizations have an ongoing project management training. Now, here's an interesting fact. There was a study done by Standish, and they realized that 1 out of 3 projects are successful. The rest are either challenged or they fail completely, right? And so when they really started looking into this, they were like, well, why are projects, not successful, and why? And when you broke out the numbers, it's actually different than that. That's the easy way to say it is 1 in 3, but it was really it was 16% fail, 53% are challenged, and then the rest are successful, right? And so what they realized, and failing altogether means like did not get implemented, didn't hit the budget, didn't hit the schedule. I mean, everything about it, it wasn't implemented into the world. It did not meet the intent. Challenged meant that it wasn't planned correctly. They didn't hit the intended results. Maybe it was delivered, but the customer was a little unhappy. It didn't serve the organization in the way it did. It caused conflict. They lost team. I mean, the whole array of things, right? Bad estimate, bad planning, bad execution, but they still delivered on the result just barely. And then successful meant it met all the criteria. So by implementing proper project management strategies and getting everybody to understand it, to really understand how to communicate effectively, because everything we do is communication. That's what leadership is. Then they're able to grow and be and increase that number, right? Be part of the successful businesses. And so part of our mission is to really do that. And so I'm saying all this because as we start having to bridge the gap, right now, and all the people, we have people leaving the industry, we have a mass amount of people coming on, leadership skills take time and they take energy. Project management takes time and it takes energy, focused energy. And right now we live in a world that's so full of noise. Everywhere we go, we're filled with distractions. It's hard for us to stay completely focused on the things that fulfill us. And so our minds, we lose capacity, right? And I go back to this because where we grow is when we have space. So we have to create that within inside of ourselves. And so everything I'm going to talk to moving from here on is really the self journey of ourselves to create that space so that we can inspire ourselves, so that we can inspire others. And then we can also grow ourselves to our full potential of who we need to be and what we need to do to really transition our careers, to be able to step up, whether you're transitioning aspiring project manager, trying to become a project manager, or you're going to be somebody who's wanting to move up the ladder within your organization. There's a way around that, and everything can be projectized. Everything can be thought of very strategically with strategic objectives, and then we tactically go after it. And then we have strategic objectives of tactically how we're going to do that, right? Every one of these things can be done so you can be incredibly successful. And that's what we're going to do here, because I believe your career is your legacy. The projects that you take on and the career that you lead can be your legacy, as in at the end of the day, when you wake up and you look back, you're looking back at what impact. It's not how many hours did I work, right? Like if we're on our rocking chair at the end of our life, we're not thinking about, how many hours I wish I would have worked more. That's what nobody, that's not what we're thinking, right? I mean, that's not what we're doing. We're thinking about what impact did I leave in this world? How was I there for the kids' games? Was I there? Did I spend enough time with my family? And how did I, and honestly, that regret, we need to not do that now. We need to make sure that, our career is our legacy. We're making the impact on the world that we need to make. And we're leaving enough space in our life to do the things that we want to do and love to do and how we need to do it. And that's where we're going. So project management, as you can see, I love project management, which is why I'm doing the Project Revolution, right? I believe that everything can be under a project and it doesn't have to be complex. We can take the jargon out of it. We can make it simple and we can execute to it in our daily lives. Does anybody here use, give me some hearts if you use project management in your daily life. Oh man. Oh, all right. Oh, the room was full of love. All right, let's go.
I love the picture because it says that, hey, you're orchestrating everything. So yes, I relate to that.
That's awesome. It's funny because I do think of project management as music, right? Like as the conductor of an orchestra. And you have to have all the right people in the right chair playing the right song at the right rhythm and a tempo. And we're there guiding them. But that's our thing, is we're there coaching and mentoring and making sure they're playing efficiently and up to speed and together as one, right? And unison. And that goes with everything in our life. So I'm glad you caught that. I'm glad you caught that. But that's not me, just so you know. All right. So just like anytime that we start anything that we want to do, when we start planning, career transition, anything that we want, we have to start with the end in mind. And even Stephen Covey, he wrote a book, Habits of Highly Successful People, 7 Success Habits of Highly Successful People. And he was all about start with the end in mind. And it's brilliant because if you know where you want to go, and that's the thing, if you really want to win at any of these, goals or projects or things you're working on, if you know where you're going every time, you're going to be well ahead of the game in any room that you walk into. You're going to have that ultimate stage presence. You're going to have confidence. You're going to have clarity. And I said this earlier. I said, if we don't possess it, we can't give it, right? If we don't have clarity and we don't have confidence and we don't have certainty and consistency in our lives, we can't share that with people, right? And so in order for us to get clear on anything, all right, we can't train that. We have to then get clear ourselves on where we want to go. So we have to know that target. We have to get hyper focused on that target. Now, the cool thing, if we all know about hybrid and we start talking about agile and things like that, is that, on our way to our target, like if that was the road, right? The map's not really it's not the territory. If that's our road and we're traveling along it, we might hit, construction, we're going to have roadblocks and we're going to have all these things that are going to happen to us on the road there. But as long as we know where we need to go, we're going to be well ahead of the game and we're going to be able to mitigate those problems as they happen. But a lot of people, they just think like, I kind of want to do a thing. And then they start doing the thing. And 6 months from now, they haven't really hit the goal. They didn't buy into it. They didn't have enough self-efficacy or certainty that they could do it. They didn't have enough clarity around it. And they definitely didn't have the confidence to do it. So you've got to laser-like focus. What is it that I have to do? And you have to start with your end in mind. Then you need to reverse engineer this. And I like to think of it like here, you just reverse engineer it. And I'll go more in depth in here. And this is how you set up projects and how I do a lot of things. And it works really well. And then you start at the bottom and you start detail planning it. And the minute you get back to that clarity, right? I got clarity, conversion, efficiency, and development. It's like you're really thinking about, okay, well, I know in this 1 year, I've got to do this thing. And this is my plan. Well, let's look at my current situation and what habits do I need to have right now to clean that up, to really go after this. And so that's where everything comes into a hybrid methodology, right? So you have to sit down and you have to say, okay, I've got my plan, and you back it back down, and then you got to get clear. And when we start talking about initiating and planning and aligning the team and month 1, month 2, month 3, this right here is a predictive model that you can use in your project management, right? So in the initiating, if everybody here is familiar with, the work breakdown structure, right? So in hybrid, you can leverage the work breakdown structure or mind map. Think of it as a mind map to understand big chunks of work that you have to do. And then you hyper focus on one of those areas and you create a backlog, right? A backlog. Well, here's all the things that I have to do in order to satisfy that work package or that chunk of work. And then you set it up in sprints and you literally just run sprints. And I like to call it stakes in the ground. I like to think of each sprint as a stake in the ground. When we think of rolling wave, right, or agile, iterative, I have to know that over time, I have to do all of these things. And so I've got my year goal out here, and I've got these big stakes in the ground that I'm going to put in the ground that I have to hit. These are my milestones, my incremental deliverables. And then I'm going to detail plan this section using my WBS breakdown and then a backlog. And then I'm going to use a predictive model because I do want it. I want to, no matter what, I want to hit this goal at the end of the year, right? I'm going to hit this goal. So I'm not going to allow myself to miss it. And the way that we do this, and this is where it's going to get tricky, is we have to look at three major areas in our life. But a lot of what happens is we say, I'm going to hit this goal if I kind of want to get it, maybe. And so you're already giving yourself reasons and excuses on why you're not going to hit it. So you have to create certainty that you're going to hit it, clarity that you've got to do it. It's a must. I'm going to do it. And I'm going to do this by stakes in the ground, rolling wave, iterative process. And you're going to leverage your backlogs and you're going to look at everything that's going on around you. and you're going to say, how can I absolutely plan in a way to give myself capacity so I can enjoy life, because I don't want to just be hitting the goal the whole time. So I can spend time with my friends and my family, and I can do more of the things that I want to do and less. And I have to really understand how to prioritize everything around me. One of the biggest things that we do wrong when we're planning is that we do the planning fallacy, right? We think that we get super aggressive, that when we plan, we detail plan as if nothing else is going on in our life. And we're like, yes. Anybody ever done that? Anybody ever done that? You've planned the perfect plan, and you planned it that you're going to do 8 hours a day, and that's all you were going to do, right? And you're like, 8 hours, I'm just working 8 hours today. It's going to take me 12 hours to do this, and I'm going to do it this day. And then 3 weeks later, you're still trying to get to it because you really only had about an hour and a half of your day that you could spend to do that. So that's the difference between high performers and people who are just there. They haven't been trained. This is where we got to get back to being trained, right? And so we got to get in and train ourselves on how do we have the habits of highly successful people, right? Highly successful project managers, people who know how to get things done, get more done with less, and still have capacity to do the things that they love with whom they love, right? And the very first way we start doing this, and this is really powerful, is we have to look for our star power. Now, a lot of us, there's really 4 levels that we're all kind of working in. We're building up in our leadership journey. There's 4 levels. Starts with self. Then it goes to one-on-one. You get really good at coaching one-on-one. Then it gets one to many, and then it becomes legendary. People are executing when you're not around, right? So in order to find that leadership charisma and that power to be able to show up and be your best when you feel your worst, and be able to just execute efficiently, you have to find your star power. And you'll hear people call it like your unique genius, but I like star power better. It's like The Rock, you know? And one of the ways you have to do that, and the quickest way, and a lot of people miss this, is you have to find your talents, your skills, and your abilities. And you have to find where they intersect with your passions. And this is critical. So the very first thing that we want to do on our journey of self-discovery to changing our career is find out, what are we exceptionally good at? Right? That we do it with ease. It's just when we're doing it, time flies, and everything around us it's just like we are just our absolute 100% in peak state. Nothing can stop us, and our brain's just firing on all cylinders. Now, you would think, well, that's my talents, right? Because talents are innate, right? Those are kind of built into us. We're either born with it, we have to acquire some of it. Skills are like we've learned it, we've done it enough, we've got the repetition. And abilities there's potential. And I really like people to view talents, skills, and abilities as in your unique genius. And then your skills are like your zone of excellence, right? You're good at this, but necessarily is it the best use of your time? And your abilities are things that you dabble in. Do I need to be great at this, right? Do I have to be super good at this? And then take that and put that where your passions are. The things that when you do it, it absolutely lights you on fire. When you find that connection, right there, then that right there is your unique genius, your star power. That's what you need to lean into when you're looking at stepping in with your team. And you might have 2 or 3 of them. You're going to have 2 or 3 of them, but you need to know that's what I need to be doing with most of my time. Now, in this world, it's hard for everybody to be 100% living in their zone of genius. And we're walking around like, woo, but you have to communicate what you're great at and honestly stand up for what you're not. And as project managers, we are really good at saying, do we want to do the most efficient thing in the world? And if you want me to be efficient and you want this to be efficient, if you give me a spreadsheet, well, I know how to build some spreadsheets, but I'm not the greatest. Like I'm not the macro, do everything, and it's like whiz bang, spend hours at it. I will spend hours at it just because I'm creative and like to build things. But some people are not great at spreadsheets. And if you give the not so good at spreadsheet person the spreadsheet and say, hey, go build me a spreadsheet, you're going to start noticing that they're going to be unhappy as you come back and you say, this isn't what I asked for. And then people and then start having the weird thing where it's like, I'm not getting the result. And it's like, but you gave the task to the wrong person. As project managers and as we're growing ourselves, we need to start learning how to communicate that right away. That is not my skill, because eventually you will be able to tell. You may not do it now because we're already in our life in the cadence of taking on things that we're not great at. But over time, you'll start slowly putting yourself into your zone of genius. You'll start only taking on that work that requires that, because people will see you're exceptional and you'll know how to communicate it efficiently. So the very first thing everybody needs to do is find out where their talents, skills, and abilities lie with their true passions. And on a flip side of that, one thing you might realize quickly is you might realize that your abilities might actually be your zone of genius and you haven't grown and nurtured it. And so you'll find out that this thing that you haven't been doing, it's like you have potential. It might be what you need to be doing. And that's the thing that you plan and you go after. So that's step number one. Step number one. I'm gonna pause for a minute. Does anybody have any questions, comments? Has anybody done an exercise like this and can share a story?
I actually can. There was this was about 5 years ago, maybe it was 6 years ago now. My company did this exercise called Strength Finders. There was a book, like you had to, so similar concept, like, because the thing was basically build on your strengths, because that's what you're good at anyway, and just trying to make sure it aligns with things you're interested in.
Now here's a really cool thing. What did you find out? What was your strength?
Geez, honestly, I don't remember. They were all typical project manager stuff, like organized, analytical. Like, I mean, there was some interpersonal as well. Like, I don't remember what they were. It was different words, but one of them, it wasn't empathy. It was just something along that lines. Like, I remember, so it wasn't, like, oh, spreadsheets or things like that. It was more general concepts.
Yep. Yeah. It was like so interesting about the strength finders. And there's another one called VIA, values and strengths, right? And so you have Clifton strengths and then values, the VIA strength assessment. They're really powerful. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, so I've personally, Ravneet, right? I've personally taken the Clifton Strengths thing, and I think it's because of the part of the leadership curriculum I went through a little bit, a pre-leader curriculum, and so yeah, they gave me my top 5 strengths and asked us to practice and build on some of that as part of the training program, I guess.
So let me ask you a question.
Mhm.
Do you know those 5 strengths right now?
Well, I guess I know a few of them off the top of my head for sure.
Do you
So
know what's your
achiever, responsibility, being able to kind of strategic. So those are my top 3, I guess, or at least part of top 5. Yeah. So, and then what's that? What is it called? It was like keeping knowledge as a in the back of your mind, or continuing to collect knowledge, but that actually feeds into being strategic. So it's almost like a learner, I believe it. I don't remember, something on those lines. That was the 4th one, and there must be a 5th, I don't know. But yeah.
This is powerful. So let me ask you this. Have you
Yeah.
ever do you ever use them and think about them day to day, every day?
No, not that much, right? You do the exercise. I guess I there was a period when I was thinking about it all the time, but not anymore, I guess. It's kind of, I'm over that phase.
So, okay, so do you feel like that you're subconsciously, you're just consciously, or yeah, you're consciously just using those strengths all the time, and you're in that?
Yes, I know that. Yes. So for example, just today I was challenged, right, at my workplace, in the challenge in the sense that I was putting together an executive presentation, and I had to put together a visualization of how the overall, 20 some items are to be kind of delivered within the next 100 days, right? When kind of some of them have not even been started or touched, let alone requirements and all that. So it's like, how do we bring together the SMEs around some of those items? So I was thinking, how do we put it together? How do we visualize it in a summary, in a one slide sort of? So I said, okay, take a step back. I took a break. I was just, going through my slides again and again. What can I do? What can I use from my past, formats and templates that I've built? And suddenly something clicked in my mind. I said, okay, I have the status thing, I have the risks. let me pick up the same exact, table, and then I'll just plop in some of the chevrons to show the duration, and I'll color code them. And that's it. That nailed it. My executives loved it. In the next kind of 1 hour, the meeting that we presented tomorrow morning, 8 a.m., it's going to other leaders, kind of. And so super happy about that. So I guess, yeah, it's like, how do you use each one of your strengths and keep it in the back of your mind, I guess. Yeah.
Mhm.
Utilize it. And, yeah. Bring it on at the right time.
Yep. That is powerful. So you basically took a very complex situation and boiled it down to a one pager, right?
Yeah.
Strategy. You said, I got
That's
to have a
it.
strategy
Yep.
to
Yep.
communicate this simply.
To communicate to people and rally them behind it and influence the decision making,
Mhm.
for all the various teams that are involved. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, that's powerful. So congratulations, by the way. That's awesome. That's a good story. So I'm interested. I hope it goes well for you then. Tomorrow you're gonna present it.
Yes.
Yep.
Thank you.
Good for you. So that's interesting though. So you're doing it, and I'm just gonna stand on this before I move on real quick. But one of the things that I love to teach is the power of three, and it's setting your intentions. And every day that we wake up, once you learn your strengths and you understand this, and you're on that journey, we all know. I believe this one thing, and there's a lot of data that backs behind it, but I wholeheartedly believe this. If I'm gonna win the day, I have to plan the night before. If I'm going to win the day, I must know what I'm doing the night before. Now I know that we have to be reactive because we have to be proactive in a reactive environment. I get that, right? We're in project management. Things aren't going to go 100% as planned, but I know my high stake conversations. I know my big ticket items for the next day. And so every morning when I get up, I set 3 intentions of who I need to be. Now, it doesn't always have to be different intentions every day, every time. It can just be that there's like these core values and these core strengths that I need to leverage, and a purpose. We have multiple purposes that we serve. We have our one, because I know the purpose for the family Jeremiah is going to be different than the project manager Jeremiah. Those are 2 different purposes. I mean, I align back to my overall bigger purpose, my vision. But when I'm out there doing project management stuff, the purpose of how I show up and the intentions that I have there are a little bit different than when I'm home with my partner and my significant others. Those are different. And so when I step into that world every morning, I know who needs to show up and what strengths I need to leverage in order to be my best, no matter what comes at me. And that's really what this helps you do, is it helps you align that. And so I challenge everybody here to do 2 things, right? To do 2 things. Do the work on your own, where you go through and you identify, what are my talents? What are my skills? What are my abilities, right? What am I innately great at? What are the skills, the things I'm good at and I've learned over time and I've done it? I might not be, I don't necessarily love it, but I'm known to do it. And then what are the things that I could potentially do, my abilities? And then what am I absolutely passionate about that lights me on fire when I think of it? And then see where those intersect and then highlight them, right? And go, okay, this one, and this one. And like I said, the abilities piece could be one that could be your star power, your unique genius. And then I want you to go to VIA, value assessment, right? Values in action, and it's a 20-minute test that you can take that's free, because the Clifton's costs, I think, $50. So if you want to spend $50, you can go to Clifton's and you can get your strengths. And they're different. I mean, I recommend doing both, but the free assessment is the values in action, and go do that. And these are your character strengths. And that's what's powerful about it, character strengths. And then for 1 week, take your top 5 and pick the ones that you want and put a sticky note, whatever, on your phone. Set a reminder in your phone. Well, first I want you to look at what you came up with, just knowing yourself at the deepest level. And then what did the world tell you that you should be based on the data and the questions, and see where those intersect and what really resonates with you. Then write those down on if you're a sticky note person, put it on your computer, something that you're going to see it and it reminds you, and see how often you're living to those values, your values in action, your strengths in action. And you'll immediately start seeing how you're going to be more motivated, and you're going to be living up to this potential, the deepest, the best version of yourself that you can be. in real time more often. And then you'll start seeing when you're incongruent, when you're not living up to that. And you can start making those tweaks to start leaning into your best self all the time. And it takes a lot of work, but it's something you can start with for self-awareness. That sound good? Challenge on?
Yes.
Let's do it. All right. So that was the exercise. And I was going to have everybody do this in real time where we just kind of jot through it, but we'll keep moving because I like the stories. Those were good. Definitely inspired me. So thank you for that. I appreciate that. The next thing that we have to do on our journey is once we really understand ourselves at the deepest level, we need this in the habits that we live. And we're really thinking about, these intentions and our purpose and our strengths and our values in action, our star power, and what uniquely makes us the best version of ourselves when we show up. We have to start thinking about our circle of influence. And it's 5 to thrive. And I say this because in order for us to go, what got us here won't necessarily get us there. And every once in a while, we have to stop and periodically look at our life. And we have to say, what is not serving me? It used to serve me, but it's not serving me now. What is a consistent thing that I love to do? My champion influencers, the top things that I'm around, that they love me unconditionally, and I never want them out of my life. And I need to keep them there. And then who are the 5 people or the 5 things that I need to bring into my life right now? And so for the sake of this conversation, we're going to be people only, okay? Because you can do this with skills and different things like that. You can do this with all kinds of things. But we'll just look at our friendships and our relationships. So influence. These are the people that influence us, right? Your zone of influence. And so in our world, when we're trying to hit our goals, there's going to be some negative influencers. And this could be some friends. This could be people in your life that when you get around, they actually drag you down, right? This could be, you could be part of things that when you're doing it, it's just like, man, it's just constantly tugging on you, and there's something wrong and you're dread going to do it. It's like, why am I here? And you have to do an audit and say, out of these 5 things, what do I need to continue doing these? Do I need to stop doing these? These are my stop 5. And you go through, and it could be 3, it can be 2. I just put 5. 5 is pretty good, right? These are 5 things that might not be serving you at the highest level. And honestly, it could be that every Friday and Saturday night, you're trying to accomplish this big goal, but you're Friday and Saturday night, you're at these bars with people, and maybe you're just out, doing the thing and partying hard. And that's really something that you need to stop so that you can go to that next level, because it's clouding your mind, and it's polluting your body a bit, so that when you show up, you're not showing up at that full energy self, because it's taking you some time to get your body back into it. So your physiology's down, your energy's low. And by the time you get back up and you're ready to go, you're doing the thing, you're back to party mode. And it's just this thing that's happening all the time. So that might be something that you need to look at and say, I got to stop doing this. And if I want to hit these goals and be my ultimate self and show up with the best stage presence and always be on to deliver the result, that's what I need to do. So you got your stop 5. Then you got your top 5. And these are your champion influencers, right? These are the things, the people in your life that when you call them up, you just feel good around them, and you never want them out of your life. You hear their voice, and you're like, I just love the mom, right? Dad, whoever, the aunts, the uncles, the brothers, the mothers, the fathers, sisters, anybody who really makes you feel good. You have friends that they're just your supporters no matter what, and they connect with you and make you feel incredible, right? Like a level 1, you get around them, you feel great. But they're not necessarily moving the needle in you. They're just there for you, and we need to have them. And we need to identify them and make sure that we're spending more time around them because they're making us feel good so we can be good, and less time around the things that negatively impact our life, right? We need to do that audit. Then we need to do our dream 5. These are the ones that are going to help us in our career, our allies, our peers, the people we don't realize that we need to leverage right now, right? Or we realize it, but we don't know how to get there. We need to say, I am going to figure out how to get closer to these people, because these people have these attributes that I want to be associated with, or I want to learn from, or the things that maybe they can help you get the job that you want, and so you have to strategically go after and build a relationship. So you have to build rapport, build the relationship, and then maintain that relationship. And you're going to start building yourself to the next level, because your network is your network. Your net worth is your network, right? You've got to grow. I'm going to say that again. Your network is your net worth. The more that we want to grow and do and be more and serve more, the more people we know is great, and we can build the connection. But I promise you, it's maintaining that relationship. right? And maintaining the right relationship. People who are passionate about what you're doing and that can help, like can help me. But remember, you have to help them. Nothing is, it's not take. It's give and take. And what you'll find out is eventually you'll get with your top 5 and they'll become champion influencers, mentors, coaches, guides. And then you're going to find another top 5 and you're going to keep going and growing and growing and growing. And this becomes, remember in our sprints, we're talking about the project management sprints, this becomes that thing that we do. This is it. This is where we really are like, okay, I got to get in front of these people. And every day, who am I showing up? How am I showing up? How am I going to get, what relationships am I building? How am I building it? Did I build it today? Audit yourself. Did I build the relationships I was supposed to today? In your retro at the end of the week, I was supposed to build it with 5 people. I built it with 2. What can I do to be better next week? We start thinking about Scrum and how to implement it. The retro is a very powerful thing that you should do at the end of day and at the end of week, and go deeper at the end of week. But at the end of day, just did I do what I said I was going to do? And if not, what blocked me and what can I do tomorrow to make up for it? Right? That's constantly what you're doing. This right here is your external world. Your internal world, your star power. How can I do more of it? And how can I get the things that influence me? Because I don't control it. I only control me, and I influence other things, but other things are influencing me. And so how can I control what influences me, right? Guard the doors of your mind. Jim Rohn and these guys, Tony Robbins, Jim Rohn, all these popular people, they say, guard the doors of your mind, as if your life depended on it. And it does, because our focus is under siege. And if whatever we let in here, we represent, we see it, we represent it into our actions and our behaviors. So we have to be careful on the people we associate with ourselves with and how it fuels our passion. And you know what? We can be around people that make us feel incredible all the time if we choose to. So that's our 5 to thrive. So the exercise would be to draw 3 columns, 1, 2, 3. Here's my top 5, the negative influencers. And I mean, think about this. Sit down, go to your favorite spot, put on your favorite tunes, get in state, get in the moment. What are the 5 things I need to remove from my life right now that are anchors? They're anchors and chains that are holding me back from being myself. Right. And if you end up being that you have a lot of things that are like procrastination and things in your life that are part of them top 5, let's start doing the homework, start getting into it on how you can then fix that. And the next one, and this is all the things that are going to make you really efficient in your job. And I want to go back to the job piece here really quick, so this isn't just like a self-help talk. But the top 5, your champion influencers, write that down. And then your dream 5, who are the 5 people that I need to get to? So again, in our careers, when we're doing things, there's things that are holding us back that we need to identify. We need to leverage what is great about us, our star power, and put that as our best foot forward at all times. So that when we get around the dream 5, they're seeing the best of us. They're seeing it, because there's going to be times where we're at our worst, and we have to be when we're down, and we have to communicate that. But we don't want to be our worst 90% of the time, right? We want to know that we have to be our best when our worst. That's real stage presence. Leaders show up, leaders lead from the front, and we have to get up there and we have to make sure that we are absolutely showing up our best. So our star power, leveraging it, knowing our strengths, getting in state, knowing how to keep the capacity right. And then what are the people I need to get in front of to move my career forward? My top 5. This could be allies at work. It could be executives that you want to get with so that you can step in there. And then we're not talking about like sucking up, nothing like that, like nothing weird where you're trying to smooth people. I think those are still words. It's more of, how can I get around and level with them? I want to be at this level. I want career growth. I want trajectory. You've got what I want. I want to be better. What can you do to help me audit myself so I can do that? And those are the questions that we're asking the Dream 5. We go to them open hat in hand, open heart. This is what I want to do. I want to be where you're at. And if they're powerful people that you want to be around, they will help you. They will reach down and lift you up as long as you put in the work. So top 5, and Dream 5. So
Jeremy, I'm sorry
yes.
to interrupt you. Before you go to the next topic, because I really liked, and that made me think a lot. Okay, let's say then I do this exercise, right? And the negative influencers, they identify those, but I know, like there are some, then let's say I will be like, oh, I don't want to spend more time with that person. I have the power not to do it because let's say then it's a friend or it's a family member, then I decide to minimize my exposure to that person because it brings me so much negativity, then that thing build me is actually drive me down, like you say. But let's say then that negative influencer is I don't know, somebody at work or a supervisor or somebody then I don't have no um power how to minimize my exposure because let's say we have to work together, whatever. What do you have some recommendations for that kind of case?
I do. So I'm a proponent, big proponent of if if you're having conflict, I believe you should lean into conflict. So if you have a negative influencer at work who is of authority, let's say that, right? And I say that like authority is in they are higher on the org chart or a peer. It is our jobs as humans in human decency to sit down and say, I would like to have a conversation with you around the things that are not conducive for this environment. And I've literally done this. I've done this enough times in my life that it's hard at first to do it because you have to like go in there, but it's how you approach it. You have to do it from a very open, like, I really want to have this conversation because you can see the tensions there. And so your first line of defense, honestly, is to have a conversation with them, and it's solving a problem. Don't put it on a person. There's a problem with how we're communicating, and I can't figure it out. I've been looking at myself and trying to figure out why, do we have these conflicts or these things happening? And I was wondering, what was your take on that? And I'd like us to get to a good amicable situation here where we're not feeling like that because there's tension between us and it's just not conducive to us being our best selves. And so you have to figure out how to have that conversation with them without saying, you know what, you're in my stop 5, which means I think you're a negative influence on my life and I don't want you around me no more. They're gonna be like, what? So you have to really approach it. You got to approach it with this, like, really strategically, really like, how can I, poke myself a bit? And then no, they might poke you, and they might be those kind of people that'll poke you and be like, yeah, you do kind of suck. And you kind of take it and go and know that where you're going with it, you're going to win because you know the outcome. They don't. You've thought through it, right? You've got a target, you've got a goal. They don't, right? So they're just like kind of taken by surprise. They might say some things, and then you just kind of guide the situation until you get to the end where you can get to that agreement. And you say, they're like, hey, I really want to speak here, but go ahead.
Okay, I'm sorry, but I've been trying to always plan for the worst case scenario. The scenario that you get to that point to the agreement and everything go, that would be the good scenario. Let's say the worst case scenario, that a person doesn't, instead of to hear what I have to say, it just justifying, and doesn't listen. What would be your advice that I should do if the worst case scenario, even after the conversation, everything like that person doesn't, hear what I say, doesn't agree and do something different, whatever, it just continue to be the way then that person is.
Right. What you have to, so let's put a scenario together really quick. Is this a person that's a peer, or are they a boss, like authority above you?
Let's for this exercise, let's say then is a peer because of a boss, let's say then is a peer.
Mhm. So you have to, I mean, at one point, like we have to get, if you cannot get them together, if you can't get with them and work it out on your own, then you have to bring in you have to bring in your boss with you. You have to bring in the boss and say, hey, look, we're trying to have the situation, it's not working out. And you say HR because life is too, and I say HR or whatever, I don't know the structure of the organization or whatever, but you have to bring in somebody that can help mediate that so that you can get it better, because bad news won't get better over time. Toxicity only grows. Your life will be miserable. You'll never want to go to work. You'll never want to be around these people. It'll eventually just spread to when they walk in a room, you're disgusted, you're you know, all the things that you can think of. You'll feel all these emotions and rage and things. And I'm going to the extreme because we're in the extreme, right? We decided to go with the extreme. You're absolutely
Of
triggered by these
course.
people, right? By these people. And so your life now, you do not have a quality of living at your work. Your work, it's toxic culture and you're not doing well. So you either need to get them removed or you remove yourself. And it's like you either go find it, you either try to work it out as a team. If that doesn't work, you have to go to the next level and bring somebody in and say, hey, we're having this problem. I really need this mitigated. It's affecting my work and it's not good. Bring the HR, whoever you have to. And then if that's not the case, then it's like either they need to be put on some kind of, you know, and I say reprimand or whatever, you know, like some kind of, you know, performance-based review, you know, 3 strikes and you're out, whatever. The companies, all companies have major processes for all this stuff. Or you need to start looking for that job, and that's why you're looking for that. What is my star power? Where's my top 5? Who do I need to get in front of to move to my career to the next level? This place is toxic. I don't like toxicity. I'm planning to get out of here. So I'm sucking it up right now. And I'm going to figure out every day how I can learn something new to grow me in the right direction to get to my top 5 people so I can move on to my career. And you make a video game out of it and you execute. So I do believe that when you
Thank
run it,
you.
yeah, hopefully that was helpful. But sometimes you just have to, you know, like you said, you have to go to the extreme, and your mental health depends on it. That's it. And it's mental health may. So, so that's it. And then the next piece before we go on, I know we're running out of time here. This is when, so the third piece is then you have to have a plan. So once you actually put this together and you know your star power, you know you're ready to go, you know what you're great at, you're looking at your power of 3, and then you're able to look at your influencers and you hey, I'm working on removing those negatives. I'm champion. I love my champion influencers. I'm on the phone with them. I call them. A cool thing with your champions is just to get them on the phone like every Monday or something. Right? Get them on a text call where you text them every Monday. Just keep building that relationship, making sure they're around, know them, that you love them and you care for them and you're thinking of them. You just want them in this energy. You want their energy. You want them to think about you and help power you on your journey. Then where's my top 5, right? You put this into a plan of action. Once you know these things, we then go into planning it. And so initiating is like, I need to change, right? So when I talk about initiating, planning, executing, monitoring, controlling, and closing, right? Initiating is like, I need to change. Let's change. I got a goal. I want to hit a goal. I want to move careers. I want to move up in this career, right? And it's like, this is your hero's journey. This is like, what you have to go, what is my quest? Where am I going? And in my stakeholder circle of trust, I need to grow that. Now in the project management pathways, I wrote a book and I called this thing the stakeholder circle of trust, where you really go through and you look at your internal stakeholders. And that's where I was talking about the top 5, stop 5, dream 5, right? Your internal, your fears, right? Your habits. You start looking at these things internally, and then you look at your external environment. You fix the things that you can control, which is you internally, and then you influence your external environment. That's initiating. You do that analysis. Then you plan. What is my star power, like we talked about? How will I communicate it? How am I going to communicate this thing I'm great at? And I really love it and I'm passionate. Not only can I communicate it, when I go to executing, I'm going to be doing it all the time. And then who do I communicate it to? Who do I communicate it to? And that's important, because when you start moving up into your value chain and you're starting to work with, you know, your top 5, you want to, we're all really proud when you get into executives. We're really good at being efficient, some of us, and we really want to be, you know, so I kind of laugh, but it's true. Some of us are like, I don't know how they got there. But you have to, when you move up into that executive position, you want to be as efficient as you possibly can with time and people's time, and you want that empathy. And so if somebody comes to me and says, you know, Jeremiah, I'm really working on this right here, and this is what I'm genius at, and I know it, I should almost know that. And I'm like, you are. I want to put them in that position as much as possible, because now I've just got this efficient machine doing the thing they're supposed to be doing. They love it. They're powerful. They show up. They're a champion. They're a champion. They're right there. They're a dream 5. They're a top 5 for you, right? They're over there being a champion, getting it done from an executive standpoint. So you want to hear them and you want to do that. So you communicate to them. Then I go into, then you plan this and you work back, and I talk about backlogs, sprints, incremental deliverables. Remember our stakes in the ground I talked about earlier? So everything is you know your goal over time. You know, we got our month 1, month 2, month 3. So we got our epics, right? If you're into the scrum, and you do your, I have to hit this goal, work your way backwards, and then you plan it. And then you align your team on day 3. So you do your day 1, you really sit with it and say, I want to do this. And you create that power. What action am I going to take? Day 2, you plan it. You set your schedule on day 1. I'm going to start planning tomorrow. That's my action. Day 2, you plan it. You get your star power. You know what you're going to do. Your top 5, you're ready to go. And you detail plan this following proper project management methodologies. Get out a Trello board. Do your backlog. Here's my goals. Write it out over here. Do your backlog. Do your sprint. Doing now. Have your work in progress. Then you align your team. When does it have to happen? Who's doing what? Who do I have to leverage to help me here? What will I do less of, and what will I do more of? You're aligning all of these things because you might be your only team member. And if you're your only team member at first, you need to know what you're doing. You're scheduling it, right? You schedule what matters. What gets scheduled gets done. What gets measured gets accomplished, right? So you have to go after those things. What will you do? What will I do less of? What will I do more of, right? You're constantly looking at it. And then you go do the work. We get out there, month 1, we're running it down. We're doing the work. We're reviewing, we're refining, we're delivering, pivot is needed, and plan the next phase. Now, the one thing I really want to just stress here, you have to plan with your real life in mind, like the current actions you have in mind. If you have a busy day and then you plan an 8-hour task in that day, you're not going to ever accomplish your goals. You have to know what is your goal. What is it that you can do each week? Work in progress, your WIP. And you want to make sure that you're accounting for everything that's in there. And then you want to prioritize only the things that matter the most to you while prioritizing yourself, who you are, what you need with your family, with your time to recharge. Because if we don't have space, we can't grow. We're at capacity, we're going to explode, right? So we got to constantly keep growing and filling space and not burning out so that we can then show up with an empty cup and be filled again and then help others. So you plan it and then you execute and refine. And that right there is a quick little how to use hybrid project management to move yourself up in your career and your life and do more of what you want to do, to serve more, to be better, do more, and live an outstanding, incredible life. That's all I got. That was the end of my presentation. Any comments, questions, or concerns?
I was just by hear your summary. One thing that I like is that when you say that you have to plan taking into account, your personal life. One thing that I have is in my cell phone, and I'm glad that Apple had the ability that you can create several calendars. I have, like, I don't know, maybe like 12 calendar in one that I can see all together, or I can, separate it and see just for work or for something. But since it's only one Murka and it's only 24 hours in a day, I implement that, and that, work a little bit. But one thing then I was gonna mention that when you say that you have to plan whatever, I probably have to work it out in also put some a little buffer, because a lot of time I plan like a work related. I plan what I'm gonna do the next day, and then when you come to the office, something change, and then you have to adjust. And a lot of time what I have to do is to, okay, what is the priority in that way, because the day only had X amount of hours. But if it's sometimes like a little you know like I plan my day, and then it's out of the window. you know
That's again goes back to that work in progress, right? Thank you for sharing that, by the way. What was that calendar you were talking about?
in my I had an iPhone, and in
Yep.
the iPhone,
Yeah.
I in the calendar I can make, as I say, I had color coded, and I had like a 15 different calendar. Like for example, I have one calendar for activities that my children is gonna do, but they don't need me. A activity then they need me because I'm their Uber or I'm their ride. A activity then like for example for this one project management, PMI, I have one calendar for PMI. I have one calendar for all the organization that do voluntary work. I had calendar for different job because I had like a 3 job. And I had calendar for a personal development, like at a then I love to read. Then no matter what, how busy I am, whatever, I always try to see if I can squeeze at least 15 minutes daily to read something then I want. That's it, because I will have to, I'm probably reading something work related or whatever, but something that I want, and it doesn't have nothing to do with the job. It can be like for distraction. Like I like children's story, like a Percy Jackson. That's like a a kid book, or the Lord of the Ring. Those kind of things. Oh, like a Stephen Covey. I read most of his book, and even Sean Covey, the son of Stephen Covey, the Seven Habits of Highly Effective People. The son did the same book, but for teenagers and children, you know, that kind of stuff. And then by having that calendar color coded, and I can allocate things. Sometimes I have to delete things because, well, I couldn't do it. But it helped me to sometimes to say no when I get approached to do something. And, uh, if I realize, oops, I cannot do it that time because I already committed for something else, because I had hard time saying no. That's another of my problem. I'm working in that.
So I think that's powerful, just so you know. Like, I mean, it really is. If you 15 calendars, like, wow, I mean, you got a lot going on. Um, but it's cool because you have it for what you don't, for what your kids don't need. You got kids, you've got work. Um, that's how you're gonna now. How successful are you at hitting your goals?
It depends. Like my personal goal, not too successful because I usually, as I say, I have problem to say no, and I have a tendency to a serve, help other, and leave me myself for the end. But like in my job, I'm always in top of everything, like that's a lot of it. But my personal, that's why when I saw this presentation that Jasmine got you to come and share all these things with us, I'm like, oh my God, even though I'm gonna be driving, I'm gonna be listening because this is gonna help me.
I really appreciate that. But it's powerful, to have that. Like you've already done an assessment there. You've already said, well, I have a problem saying no. It sounds like you like to serve others, that you like to go out and serve other people. Um, you just have to know, just do that analysis. When you say no to something, you're saying yes to something else, right? But you might be saying, if you don't say no, you could be, you're missing out on other opportunities. So you just have to really weigh that, right? And that's that part of that analysis. The cool thing about this is that, to sum it up, is that you're just really being your best self when you need to be your best self, and you actually know that at the deepest level. And then you're planning it in a way that you could actually get something done, right? Like, how can I actually do this so that I have a better chance of living my life to the full potential? And then how can I do it leveraging true and tried project management methodologies? It's there for a reason. This stuff is not just for businesses. It's not. It's a powerful system that we can use at any time to push ourselves forward, because things that we're doing in our lives are projects, right? I used to say that term, you hear life is a project, and it's like, ooh, I mean, we all know there's an end, but like calling it a project makes it pretty definite, right? So, I guess if we keep the end in mind there too, it does help us, hit all the goals. But I do like to think that our life is built, maybe it's a program built up of a lot of different projects, or it could be a portfolio with a lot of programs, have a lot of projects. But
Definitely.
anyway,
Jeremiah, this was great. Help, I need somebody.
Yeah, I was going to
Oh,
say,
I'm
just,
sorry. I thought your presentation was done.
I was going to say one thing. It's just at the end of the day, if we all are part of a great community, PMI, LinkedIn. If people need help, somebody to lean on, have a conversation, we're all out there running around trying to help each other, right? And we just have to communicate it. Don't suffer in silence. Bad news doesn't get better over time. We're all here for a reason to help each other. And so if you need it, you just gotta, like I say, one Beatles song away. I recently became a Beatles fan. So listen to the Beatles, and I need somebody. Let us know. And that's what we talk. That's what we that's into my presentation.
Jeremiah, thank you so much. This was very informative, and I love your strategies about conflict resolution. But I also love the fact that, you kind of highlighted sometimes you just have to really look out for your mental health, because sometimes you make hard decisions, but ultimately it's, I have to do this for myself, because if I don't go on, how can I pour into anyone else? But I like to confront the conflict. I really like that. So thank you so much. These gems, they were great. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
I appreciate it.
And I mean, I don't think there's any much more to say. Like, this was really great. I really appreciate you, and I really appreciate this topic. I think it's well needed. And just on behalf of Hudson Valley Chapter, thank you.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure being here. And Jasmine, we've been working on this now for what, like 5 or 6 months for making this happen. And I'm glad I made it. And I'm glad you all liked it.
No, you definitely rocked it. You definitely rocked it. And
I
you
love it.
ignited.
It was very
Excellent.
good. Thank you.
Thanks, Jen. Very good. All right. Well, should we go
Thank you.
walk?
And you have a great night.
You too as well. Thank you so much, everybody. We'll see you. Bye.
Thank you, Jeremy.